Hey, it's Alan here.
And Bree. And we are the hunter and the hippie.
Connected through yoga and bonded by our love of the wild places and the love for outdoors, we've come together to share our conversations about life.
Well, maybe more so what we've learned or are continuing to learn about life.
And there's no one way to do it. Life, that is.
And hopefully provide you with some teeny tiny bits of inspiration to connect deeper with yourself, others, and our great Mother Earth.
All right. Enough already about the podcast. Let's just get to the podcast. Hey, Bree, how's it going?
Good, I'm lying. I said tired before.
You did say tired before. You're tired because why? Say exactly what you said.
Oh no! I was on the road for 2 weeks, so I left. I guess 12 days. I left 2 weeks ago Thursday in the evening, and just got back to Cody on Tuesday afternoon. And what I said initially it was that I had to teach yoga that evening, and then I switched it to I got to teach yoga that
you
evening.
Immediately switched it, and you were the one who noticed it. I didn't say anything, but you immediately switched it. So you switched it from had to teach to got to teach.
Yes,
which is beautiful. I love that you recognized your word choice.
I mean, I have to practice what I preach.
Absolutely.
And if I tell other people in class to shift that. And I'm usually really good about saying get to initially. But as I mentioned,
but you're tired.
I'm quite tired. The brain has not been functioning optimally. I ran into someone I knew in the grocery store, and I don't even know if I was forming normal sentences. She works in fire, and I was like, oh, so you're not on assignment? And it's like, obviously she's not on assignment. She's in Cody. What? Who asked that question? And it was just I don't know what I'm talking about.
Being tired, right? Being tired impacts a lot, right? Brain function and conversation ability.
And people who have listened to past episodes know, I love my sleep, and I love routine. Consistency of sleep, I think, is even more significant than even. I don't know if I would say the amount, but consistency is super important. And going to bed at consistent times, waking up at consistent times, and especially in the summer, I wake up early because it's light early. So I'll be up. I won't be able to sleep in past, 6 a.m.
Right.
So that means when I go to bed at midnight, I'm not getting as much sleep as I'd like.
Yeah. I was in Phoenix. So normally, we have in my master bedroom, we have blackout curtains, and it's pretty dark, and I can keep it even when the sun's up. We can keep it pretty dark like that. I'm usually not too terribly impacted. But I was in Phoenix for my mother's 70th for a really quick trip for my mother's 70th birthday.
Happy birthday!
Yay! Happy birthday, Mom! And I stay with my uncle, and he has this a fold out bed type of thing in his living room, but in his living room is these massive set of it's the entire wall is sliding glass door and glass windows, and he has no curtains. And as soon as that it's not even sunrise, right? As soon as the first light, it is just as bright as can be in the living room. And it didn't matter when I went to sleep. I was up instantly. And we went out and So it was a few birthdays. It was my mother's birthday, 70th, my uncle's birthday, 60th birthday, and then my best friend's 41st birthday. And we went out for my friend's 41st birthday, and I didn't get home until 4:30 in the morning.
Whoa.
Yeah, and
College.
yeah, it was definitely like a college type night. And at 4:30 in the morning, right, got to bed probably like 4:45, 5. First light was like 5:30. Guess who was up? I was so mad. So I was able to like throw the covers over my head and sleep for like another hour, but I got my Whoop said I think total was an hour and a half sleep.
Oh gosh.
And then we spent the day by the pool in like 116 degree heat that entire day. So I came back and I was flipping exhausted. So
Yeah.
I feel you on the tired and the consistency of sleep. And then like you're saying with summer, right? Like sleep cycles change a little bit because it's light more. It's harder to go to sleep because right the sun doesn't set until what, like 9
or late. I mean,
yeah.
it sets at 9, but I feel like I still have light.
You're up there though. You're a little further north
Yeah.
too, so you're gonna get a little longer.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I don't feel like I need as much sleep. Like I just naturally I feel a lot more rested. I probably get consistently 2 hours less sleep in the summer than I do in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
I sleep like 9 hours in the winter. Yeah, maybe sometimes 10.
I can't
then
fathom that.
And then in the summer I naturally, I can work with 7 hours, but it's 7 hours and going to bed at before 10 and a 7 hours of going to bed at 12 are very different for me.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, that's where that consistency comes in. It's not always about like the number that you're getting, but how is it in your? I'm a creature of systems and again consistency. Like I think the other part was my apartment was just a disaster when I got home because I had 2 weeks worth of bags, which I pack very light, but I had a run event, I had a yoga retreat, I had our filming.
Yeah, everything we did, yep.
I had brought like my pack raft in case I got on water. I brought my climbing stuff in case I got out climbing. So I brought so much stuff. And so I just plopped it all in my apartment, and then I got my garden tower, my indoor garden tower.
Did you set it up?
Which I set it up, and my seedlings I had a friend watching my seedlings, and it was like 3 days without water. They had like sucked up everything that was left.
Oh my gosh.
So Tuesday evening, I got done teaching and was like, I need to put my garden tower together. And I'm putting it together. You have to fill up the base, and I was going to do it with just fill up water bottles and pour it in. I'm like, this is going to take forever. So I moved it over by my door, but I have a bookshelf by my door. I go to move my bookshelf.
Oh no.
And this bookshelf has been passed down from person to person in this apartment. It's like not mine originally. It was like, I don't know how many generations it's been through of people who've lived in this same spot. So I'm moving it, and it's like, and then all of a sudden it's like wavering back and forth, and I was like, my bookshelf just broke, and I'm like taking everything off of it before it just crumbles, like teeters and falls over. I get everything off. So now I've got cardboard boxes everywhere. I've got a garden tower I'm building. I've got 2 weeks worth of gear and clothing and packing, and my entire massive bookshelf just on the floor. And I'm like, I can't wake up in the morning and have this chaos. Like, so I cleaned up like half the chaos.
That's funny.
But it's felt like the first 2 days, the first day and a half, getting back Tuesday afternoon, like it took half a day on Wednesday to unpack everything from my trip and like organize. Because I put everything has a place. Like everything goes back in place.
As it should.
And yeah, so it was, so today's been like, catch up on everything you haven't done.
That's great.
Anyway,
And now you get to catch up on your sleep.
No,
No?
I'm going backpacking.
Oh my gosh.
That's why today has been like, I have so much work to do today because I will be disconnected again for 3 days.
Where are you going?
Through into the thoroughfare, which is the most remote area in the lower 48.
Is this you're not backpacking, you're running?
No, this is a backpacking, going with a few friends just to scope it out. I've never been back there, and I'm going to see what all the grizzly bears are doing right now.
Oh joy! Do you have a firearm or bear spray or?
Bear spray. There's a group of us.
Or are you just gonna give them a sandwich?
Yeah.
Throw the sandwich one direction, run a different direction.
Yeah. There's 6 of us, so that's already in itself safe, a good preventative measure. Yep. And then we all have bear spray, and I think one of my friends, Chris, will bring his a firearm. So
cool.
Yeah, but I won't be when I go run it. I won't be carrying a firearm. Or no, I won't. Yeah, I'll just have bear spray. So
at least you'll have bear spray. We've talked about bears before on our episodes, but grizzlies are no joke. Grizzlies are the big boys down here, and there's black bears up there too, but grizzlies are the ones that you got to worry about. What, grizzlies are like close to 1,000 pounds at their largest.
Yeah.
And black bears can be like 130 to 300 pounds at their largest. So. But
grizzlies don't want anything to do like. I
Usually
think black
not.
bears sometimes they're gonna come around you. Black bears will like have no problem. Kind of.
They're more
I feel
poking.
like, yeah. Whereas grizzlies, it takes I think a lot for them to. You have to be very surprised.
That's the issue. Is when you surprise them. Is if you get up on them and you're close to them and they get surprised.
Yeah. But it's hot, so they'll be up higher. They'll be sleeping during the day.
Nice.
So, and I don't know. We'll see if it's moth season yet. That's when they go up into that, kind of hang out in the alpine. So, we'll see.
Awesome. So you got a lot going on.
Yeah. And that's the other part is I just have some very time sensitive stuff with other retreats coming up. I have a llama yoga and fishing retreat in like 3-ish weeks.
Tell us a little more about that. Are there any open spots left too?
There are. It's
so when this comes out next week, it'll be 2 weeks to the retreat.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So 2 weeks to the retreat, you can still get a spot if you're interested for a llama trip. That is
a llama trip. It will be. It's kind of a supported backcountry experience, so it's great for anyone. But if you've been wanting to do some backcountry camping and you're a little nervous about it, this is a great way because your stuff will get packed in with the llamas and you'll have like the support of myself and Llamas Unlimited. We'll be doing some yoga out there. We'll also have fly fishing. You can rent fly fishing rod and flies and a tutorial if you are new to it. So yeah, just kind of
cool.
More of like an adventure yoga retreat. That
sounds exciting.
Yeah, got a handful of stuff coming up. So
we are going to have to. I was thinking about this as we were booking out. We were planning out our episodes for like through September.
Yeah.
I actually wrote down through the rest of the year like when episodes need to be released by.
Yeah.
And I got to the year episode.
Oh.
Like, we've been doing it for a year type of thing. And I was just like, we need to do something. We need to start like off branding like the Hunter and the Hippie retreats, which we've talked about. And,
yeah.
Do like bike ride, just random shit, right? Like just, I think it'd be cool to have other things for our listeners to join us in.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked, I think a retreat would be really cool to build in just the concepts that we talk about here and and bring people together around all of that.
So I think we're going to chat a little bit more about word choice and how we choose our words and what words we use. But I think you need to breathe. I think I need to breathe. And I think our audience needs to breathe. So
yeah, probably after hearing me bitch. Man. I actually just like reamed some people last night. I was like, are we just going to complain the whole time? I am not a complainer, and I don't think I complained. I just expressed that I was tired.
Yeah, I didn't hear complaining. What's really funny before we breathe, just while we're on this topic, I had I don't want to say a problem. I was annoyed at something that happened, and what happened is totally irrelevant. I got past it, right? Like you can't let one thing ruin like your entire day, right? We talked about this last episode. But I was annoyed at something, and one of my friends knew I was annoyed, and I called her, and she knew I was annoyed, and I was like, "Hey, can I complain to you? Are you ready for this energy?" And I think that's really respectful, right? Like, I think that if you are going, like, if you're feeling some sort of way, like, it's cool to have people to bounce, right, your shit off of. But you have to make sure those people are prepared, right? Yeah. Because you're giving them, right? Like, you're giving them bad energy in a sense, right? And it was great because she totally acknowledged. She's like, I love that you asked me. She's like, go for it. Yeah. And by the end of the call, she flipped it around on me, and and she, right, like, she did what a friend should do, and flipped it around on me, and spun it back into how it's good, and life's great, and we're alive. So yeah. So
I like that permission. I actually I'm on the group I'm going backpacking with. I somehow became the point person in a week that I don't have the capacity to be a point person.
Yeah.
And I put us all in a group text, and I said, I can't be sending messages to everyone. Like, we had 3 people in a group text, but then 2 separate ones. And I just said, I can't do this right now. So let's all get together. We can figure it out. Because shared gear and stuff like that, not everyone needs to bring a stove, not everyone needs to bring a water filter. And I realized, I'm like, why is this so hard for me right now? And I realized that I've spent 2 weeks on the road, always with people, right? So because I'm staying with people the whole time, and then obviously, and it's all great, it's all people I want to be around. I have I'm excited about it. It's catching up with old friends. I got to hang out with you and Jess. Like, the retreat was an incredible group of people, just really deep, amazing conversations. But it was 2 weeks of not having any alone time. And I ended up just telling them, I'm like, I need to give you a warning. I spent 2 weeks with people nonstop. And if I kind of go off on my own, or, I'm doing my own thing while we're backpacking, please don't take it personally. I'm overwhelmed and I need some alone time.
Right. And
it was like that. I'm like, this could happen, and I just want to communicate it. I want you to know that it's nothing to do with you guys. It was just my realization of, I'm mad. I can't be around people for 3 days. Like, I go to nature to, like, recalibrate, to reset, to spend time alone. And this is a trip that we've been planning for a while, and it grew into a group of 6, which is awesome. And I need to have some time alone while I'm out there. So.
And it's great that you know that boundary and you shared that with them. Yeah, and you're able to say, hey, no, this is what's going to happen, right? It's not a question. It's not like you need someone else's permission for that either. Like, hey, like, I know what I need, and I'm going to get it, and I'm just letting you know that, hey, don't take it personal.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is, like, we take a lot of shit personal. And it's shit that we probably shouldn't take personal. So.
And that's where, like, as a communicator, as a person expressing, I always find it important to, like, you will never know how someone will perceive it, but if you can kind of sometimes think in the perspective of the receiver, how would it change the way that you communicate? I mean, we've talked about love languages before, and I actually always found the power of love languages was in being able to listen for it versus needing someone else to change the way that they express their love languages. And so instead of the person, oh, you have to speak my love language, no, I get to, as the receiver, look for it. And so it's the same thing with, you know, being on both sides. How can I express this in a way that can be fully received and hopefully not personalized, even though you can't control that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But all right,
let's breathe.
Some breaths, just a few. Finding a comfortable seat or feeling a relaxed state wherever you are. So if you are walking, maybe you just soften the shoulders down. If you're seated, allow the arms to hang heavy. And then closing your eyes or finding a soft gaze. And let's start with 3 deep inhales and just open mouth, exhale, sigh, releases. Deep inhale, fill up. Then big exhale, let it go. And again, breathe in. And releasing. Taking in. And giving back. And then sealing your lips and finding your breath just through your nose. And when you feel ready, begin to slow your exhales down. So finding a cadence where your exhale is longer than your inhale. You can always use a count of 3 and 5, or you might just feel it. Just know that your exhale is longer. Then on the top of your next inhale, take a pause. And then lengthen your exhale. And again, at the top of your inhale, pausing, feeling a moment of stillness, of silence, before you slowly, without struggle, breathe out. Notice in those gaps, in those transitions from inhale to exhale, from exhale to inhale. Notice the stillness in those gaps. Just a brief moment. And allow the feeling of those gaps to fill your entire body. Knowing that no matter how busy life is, how chaotic it feels, how tired you are, you still have access to these brief moments of stillness, silence, ease. When you're ready, gently drawing your chin towards your chest and fluttering your eyes open.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're
Feeling
back.
good. Feeling good.
Feeling good.
We have we're right, July 4th weekend is upon us, and we are my niece is coming in from Arizona with her boyfriend, and we're like preparing. We're doing like another lake trip, just like one of the local lakes here, and so yeah. So today's just been crazy. I like text you, hey, can you record early? And then I was like, nope, never mind, and like left the house to like go go run errands. So yeah, I love breathing. I was thinking about like being a yoga teacher. It's right, like in like just like a really like basic, like very basic, right? It's just like we are leading people in something they do unconsciously, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
right, like our goal for an hour plus is to have people breathe,
Yeah.
and it's like just inhale, exhale, and then just movement tied to that. So I was thinking about that teaching this morning
Yeah.
at 7 a.m.
Well, it's, you know what we're guiding them to breathe, but I think more so we're guiding them to be aware of breathing,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So that's all, and that's what the movement does. The movement forces you to be aware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it can make the breathing strenuous and oh, what's going on? And yeah, and I've really been focused on trying to have my students think about the breath outside of class, like because I have a lot of students that have been practicing with me pretty regularly now for a year, 2 years, and so now I'm like, do you notice your breath when you're not on your mat? How has yoga impacted your breathing when you're not on your mat? You know, do you notice it? Are you aware of it? Are you, when you experience pain, do you change your breath? Do you tap into, because like that's something I do, is I know when I'm experiencing like physical pain, I will activate like my ujjayi breath, right? I'll restrict the muscles in the throat, and I'll start controlling my inhales and exhales, making them really labored and what's the word I'm looking for? See, apparently you're passing your tiredness on to me. I'm losing my words. But yeah, my point is that like I will tap into, and I started doing it unconsciously, and then I was like, oh whoa, that's weird. Like I'm using my ujjayi breath to help me through this.
Yeah.
And just through my practice, I've become more and more aware of my breathing, how it changes in certain scenarios. When I'm flying, I'm deathly afraid of flying. I'm a terrible flyer, and and I fly for business. Isn't that great? I used to fly every other week, and I'm a terrible flyer. And so, when I fly, I notice my breath. It's pretty cool being aware of what your physiological response is to stress or pain or happiness, joy, all of the things.
Yeah, each of those, every emotion has a different breath pattern that correlates with it.
So, word choice. I am a huge believer in word choice, and I one of my big word choices, and I quote yell at people in my yoga class about it all the time, is the word can't. I hate the word can't. Can't to me is the biggest lie we tell ourselves outside of I'm going to remember that without writing it down. I truly believe can't is such a huge lie, because usually it's just us saying we won't, and if you're going to say I won't, say I won't, but. And that's for me, that's the big difference. Like if you're in a really hard pose, or you're doing something that you think you can't do because you're physically exhausted, or you think you're physically exhausted, or something you've never done before, and you even say I can't before you've even tried to do this thing, when really it's I won't. And then once you say I won't, it's personal as hell. Like when you say you won't do something, that like if it's something that like is like meaningful to me, like an exercise, right, like, or a pose, if I'm in a pose and I think I can't do this, well, that's easy, right? Like I can just stop doing it because I can't do it anymore, which is a lie. But when I say I won't do that pose, well, then it's like, well, that's a physical choice that I'm making. I'm still physically capable of doing the pose. So I guess I have to do the pose until I can't any longer. And I can't is way further down the road than many of us believe. And you might experience a lot of that in running, especially endurance running, or at least when you maybe were getting into it, or.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, when you say that, I won't sounds. It's also, I almost see it as a powerful word to say I won't, right? Because it's putting the power back in your hands, versus blaming external. Like, it's will versus, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I feel like I can't feels more external, and I won't is your choice.
Yeah. And I totally get what you're saying with, like, it gives you power because it gives you the opportunity to think about, do I want to do this? Right? And if the answer is no, I don't want to do this, then I won't. Is empowering, right? Like it's like, all right, yeah, no, it doesn't align with my direction in life, in this moment, in whatever, right? So no, you're right, I won't do this. But it also gives you power to say, I won't do this. Why won't I do this? Is this in line with what I'm trying to accomplish? Yes. Well, then I guess I will do it.
Yeah.
At least that's like the way I think of it, right? It does give you that power now to choose versus I can is you've made a decision based off of who knows what, right? Like fight or flight in probably most cases, but you're making a decision that is a lie, right? It is, I would say, I don't know what percentage, but I'm going to go out on a limb, like 95% of the time, I can't is a fucking lie. Like it is a huge, massive lie.
Well, I can't is based on past experiences. So I can't is a conditioned response.
Yep.
Because I can't is maybe you tried it before and you couldn't, or you couldn't do it for as long, or whatever whatever that looks like. So saying, you're like, well, I couldn't do it last time, so you're saying I can't this time, but this time is a new moment. So that's where I see it as basing it off of like the external, because you're basing it off the past, which is, or what you have defined yourself to be. So again, these conditioned habits or unconscious beliefs that are within us come out with I can't because whatever information you've gathered about whatever it is you're saying you can't do is not real.
Yeah.
Because you didn't try, so you're saying I can't.
Right.
So like I don't know if I would personally probably move away from the word a lie, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that, but like as I'm processing this, thinking of this, I see it as I can't comes from a conditioned response or unconscious like neural pathway.
Yeah. And I'm going to stick to it's a lie. I'm going to stick to this one because it's a lie. But I agree, but it could even be unconscious from your childhood, from the way you were raised. Things that, right, people, right, when people can't see themselves doing something, we put that, right, and we all do it, right, when I can't see myself doing something and I'm going to tell a kid or someone, no, you can't do that. Well, why can't we do that? Right. And what's stopping us? And, it's like you said, there's something unconscious that happened, whether it was from another person putting that on us or ourselves putting that on us or, past experiences doing it. Right. And so-called quote failing, and not wanting to try it again. There's the fear of looking stupid or right. That's like the ego getting in the way. But I'll always say can't is a lie, because if you didn't try and you're saying you can't, well, it's going to come true. But if you try and you do it, well, it's a lie. And in most cases, I believe that if you do it, like if you quit with the can'ts, if you own it, say I won't, right? And then, yeah, you just quit, or you actually do it, then it's like, oh yeah, that I can't. And a perfect example, and you don't teach headstands in your yoga class, but I had a new student who I remember this before the pandemic, where I was like, let's do headstands. And she was like, I've never done them. She was like super worried, super scared about them. And I was like, just, and that's usually when I give that speech, like, hey, stop with the I can't bullshit. You don't know if you can. You might not be able to. You're right. You might not be able to. But you got to give it the good old college effort and give it a try. But you can't let your mind restrict it. You can't have that thought in the back of your mind saying, oh, well, it's probably not going to work out, right? Because that's holding you back. That is a barricade. You need to go all in. I can do this. I'm going to do this. And sure shit, she nailed it, and she came up to me after class. She was like, oh my God, she was so happy with herself. And yeah, I truly believe we get in our own way with that. So that's my thoughts.
The teacher I co-led with in the Sand Dunes, Suzanne, over at Flow Yoga in Arvada, she did a no-head headstand. And I was like, yeah.
A no-head headstand.
Yeah, because I think she's in the same boat as I am, why we don't teach it. But so instead of so it's a forearm stand, but instead of having to have your forearms as 11s with the palms facing down, she allowed people to do like how you would do a headstand with the fingers interlaced and kind of making the top part of a triangle. And it was just focused on same thing, but not allowing your head to touch the ground. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah. But I was like, oh, I might actually build that in, because some of the forearm stand can be pretty intense in the shoulder rotation.
Right.
But I will not teach a headstand.
And that's funny, because like I very rarely will teach people forearm stand, because a lot of the students we have are athletes and rock climbers, and their shoulders are already jacked, and like trying to put someone into a forearm stand and then like if they don't have the stability and the balance, I always just worry about like tearing their freaking shoulder apart, and so I'm just always so concerned. And so unless people come up to me and they're like, can you teach me this, I'm like, all right, well, let's strengthen, stabilize your shoulders first, and then we'll see if we can do it. But
I think climbers typically have too strong of shoulder. I mean, they're too tight in the shoulders versus loosey goosey. So, that's where I feel dolphin leading into it is like, if you can't get into if this is a lot for you, you're not kicking up, and it's like a self-regulation.
Yeah,
but I never teach it off the wall because of that. Because that exact reason of if you over kick, you can mess up your shoulder. But I feel the wall behind. But it's funny about words. I was talking to someone yesterday. Butts changing to ands is one that I work a lot with. It's harder, for sure, and
but negates everything you've said prior to the but, right? So whatever you said prior to but just goes out the window.
Yeah.
Right? Like you totally just, why'd you say that? Just say what you're going to say now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think trying to shift to an and is because we also get in, I think we've talked about this before, that like either or mentality. So, and the but kind of allows it, I think feeds that either or. Yes. I'm trying to think of a good example. Oh, so a friend had said, I'm, going up to Alaska. We're going to float. They're going to go fishing. It's going to be an awesome trip, but, and then there was whatever to follow. I can't, he's injured his wrist. So he's like, I can't row. I can't do this and that. And so we say that a lot, I think, even just with ourselves, like, I did a really great job, but this, that, and the other. And I will catch myself when people ask about, and this almost circles back to the like complaining culture and this idea that we feel like we can't celebrate ourselves. So even oftentimes we'll say, yeah, I did a really great job on this project. And we don't put a period there.
Right.
We say, but I could have done better on this, or I didn't speak clearly here, or this, that, and the other. We always have to kind of knock ourselves down or knock down the experience.
It goes back to the I can'ts, though. No, it goes back to the I can'ts. Go ahead. I'm going to make a point, but it goes back to the I can'ts, too.
Oh, no, go make a point.
It sets up the okayness for failure, right? Like I'm going, all right, in your friend's example, I'm going to go paddling, but my wrist hurts. So what he's saying, right? Like in just finishing his sentence for him, right? Like, and I don't know the guy and I can't, but like finishing that sentence is, so when I get to the river and I can't actually do this, it's okay.
No, but he has a broken wrist. Mine, no, but my whole thing was more of that he's degrading the experience. Like, it's not even the inability to do it. It's like that. So I don't know. I don't feel the can't as much. I see it as like we don't celebrate ourselves, or we can't just look at the positive. We have to like find the negative or add the complaint culture that we have.
Yeah. And why is
whatever it's showing up.
Why is the I can't there anyway? Like, yeah. So what? I agree with exactly what you said, right? Like, I'm going on a float trip and I have a broken wrist, and it's okay.
And I can't paddle.
Right, and I can't paddle, and like, I'm still going to enjoy.
Physically can't paddle.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, literally. Like that is a literal physical limitation,
cast.
Right? That's a literal physical limitation, and that's like, but you're still going to go, and you're still going to have a good time, and you're still going to quit degrading yourself, quit telling yourself, you can't paddle, but why you're still going to float, you're still going to, let someone else do the work, right? Like we rely on other people, we still are able to do things, we're still able to do the things that we enjoy. And maybe your friend's example is bad, but I truly believe that we do that a lot so that when we fail, it's okay, right? We set ourselves up so that when failure does come and we don't do what we say we're going to do, the excuse is there already. And we don't take accountability. And yeah, it sucks, right? Like we got to quit assigning bad and good, because that's what makes it suck, is like this expectation of like, I'm not going to fail or I'm not going to do it, but just go.
But?
Yeah. Did I say but?
You did.
Did I say?
It's hard.
It is hard. It is hard. So you have to be okay being 100% accountable, and when I truly believe when exactly what you're saying, when we start beginning to make those excuses, especially for future events, it's the setup. It's the setup to allow us to quit. It's the setup to allow us to, it's okay if I don't actually do this. And no, it's not. You said you were going to do it. Go fucking do it. And if you don't want to do it, and you won't do it, right? Because it doesn't align with your goal, then don't do it. And
or
just
you don't want to.
Right? Yeah. Right. And just say that. But don't say, oh, I didn't do it because, right? Like whatever that is.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't blame it on something else.
Right. Own it. Right. That's what accountability. And again, it's not good or bad. We have to stop assigning meaning. Right. With stupid meaning making machines. Go to the forum, Landmark Forum. You learn that we're meaning making machines, and that's it. Like it's not anything. It just is. Right. Like you didn't do it, and that's what integrity is. You're whole. You're complete. Right. Like I didn't do it. Done. End of story. Move on. Now what?
Yep. I
But
think another. Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
No, go.
I think another focus that I've with verbiage is also, and this kind of falls in line with the can't is, and I guess the buts is that how we look for the negatives or again these external components and the idea of so many people knowing what they don't want, right? And we kind of talked about this in the mantra, but and I invite people to, when they think about what they don't want, right, just think about the opposite. Start choosing that verbiage.
Right.
Start changing from what you don't want in your life to what you do want in the way that you speak. And that comes back to the can'ts, right? Or I don't want to do this. Well, you could even say, what do you want to do?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're aware, right, just like we talked about in the beginning, like you're aware of your breath, right? So I always say this in my yoga classes that we practice yoga on our mats. Yoga rarely happens on our mats, right? We practice it for when yoga actually happens in the real world. And it's like I said, right? We're becoming aware of our breath on our mats so that we can acknowledge it when we're off of our mats. And it's the same process of, right, you're becoming aware of your can'ts and your buts and your word choices so that down the road, when you run into life, when you run into yoga, when you run into situations where you start using poor word choice, like you did right at the beginning of this episode, right? Your word choice was, I had to teach. No, you didn't. And you caught it, right? No, I get to teach. Right? And that's training. That's all that was. That was training.
Yeah.
We got to see or hear your training in action. Right? I didn't have to correct you. You didn't, right? You were like, nope, bing, that's wrong word choice. Here's the right word. Let me back up, take that out, put that back in. And it's the same for your actions. And, you know, when I was out bow hunting for 10 days, you know, it was like day 3. It was like day 3 and I was miserable. Like I did not want to be there. But yet everything that I wanted, everything that I'd said prior to that trip was me getting there and being there. But then when I was in the moment, I was like miserable. I was unhappy. And I don't know what was driving that. Probably just tiredness and lack of sleep and hiking 10 fucking miles a day. But then I was able to realize, actually by reading my journal, but I was able to realize, whoa, I've worked so hard to get here. And now I need to change my thoughts. And I did. I started singing Queen's Can't Stop Me Now. So anytime I had to hike, anytime, it didn't matter where I was hiking, I would just start singing or humming, right? Or soft voice, or if I wasn't hunting in the moment, like loud voice, I would just, Can't Stop Me Now. Like I want to be here. And my friends even noticed, like, wow, you changed. Like, I made the choice by changing my words and my thoughts to something that is like to exactly what you said, right? What I want. It's no longer what I don't want. It's what I want in my life. And
it's all of that feeds your energy. I notice when I keep the narrative of, gosh, I'm so tired. Gosh, I'm so tired. Do you think I get less tired by telling myself how tired I am? No.
You get more tired.
and that's, I catch that a lot when I go out for a run. I'll be like, oh man, like, I don't know how I'm feeling today. And I say, don't already set the stage for how your run is. You have no idea how your run is, which is, I will say, one little nice thing about the Whoop strap. I find it more of an advantage to know my recovery on days that I don't feel as great. And I'm like, well, I had a green recovery. It's just my BS mind telling me that my body's not. And it obviously doesn't tell you, it only tells you cardiovascularly how you've recovered, not like muscle. So if you had a big weight training workout, it you can have a really great recovery, but your
Yep.
muscles can be sore.
Yep.
But that has been really, that's played a role for me in those days where I'm like, oh man, okay, but I'm in the green. Like I should, like I should feel good. It's just my mind telling me this, that, and the other. So, yeah, and it's cleaning that slate. It's standing in nothing to allow what shows up to show up versus
Yep.
like predetermining what your experience is going to be.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like if you say this is what's going to happen, then most likely that's what's going to happen. If you say you're going to bonk, you say you're going to be tired, well, then you're probably going to be those things or do those things.
I also, though, I do like mental training where I find it important to experience those things. And so sometimes I can use that to place myself in those states to navigate how I would be when I am so tired or when I'm bonking, and what are the possible sensations to come up? What am I going to have to overcome throughout it? So that just comes back to the power of words, right? The power of our brain believes our thoughts to be something that we're currently experiencing. It doesn't decipher. So if you're constantly saying negative things, you're constantly physiologically experience those negative things.
And you do it, like you said, to train to be able to work through it. And this goes back to my point of I can't lie. And it goes, right, this ties into like the whole Goggins, right, David Goggins thing, right? Like you can be hurting, your feet can be broken, your blisters bleeding, right? Like you can have all these things that are telling you you shouldn't be doing something because you physically, quote, can't do it. But you're like, no, like I'm going to do it. I don't care. I don't care if I'm bleeding through my shoe. I'm going to do it. Like I'm going to do it. Right. So like you can tell yourself I can't, but it's not true if you actually want to do it and you get the willpower to do it. And I truly believe endurance running is a huge part of that. And I think we even talked about it while you were here. I think it was you. When you go for a run, right? I used to run, not massive endurance like you, but when you go for a run, you start running, you might get to like mile 1 and like your ankle's hurting. And you keep running. And then by mile 2 or mile 3 or mile 5, your ankle's no longer hurting. Right? But now your hip's hurting. And then you're like, oh, this sucks, right? Like I wish my ankle was hurting now. Like, and then, but you keep running. And you could say I can't, right? Oh, I can't because my hip's hurting. But you keep running. And then by mile 7, my hip no longer hurts.
Yeah.
So I think that we cave to what's easy. Like we set ourselves up, and again, right, your friend's a bad example because his wrist is physically broken and in a cast, right? So like that is literally an acute injury, right? Where like it physically cannot be used for the moment, right?
Yeah.
And I still believe I can't bat for him, right? Because I can't in that moment. It's not that I can't forever.
Yeah.
Right. I can't in that moment. And what you can and can't do, right? Your limitations change. And that's the thing about our limits is you do not know your limit until you go past it. So you can't tell your limit. You don't know what your limit is until you're beyond it. Right? Until you've bonked, until you've crashed, until you've broken something, right? Like, because you can't butt up to it and say, this is my limit, unless you're like passed out, right? That's your limit. Oh shit. Well, a mile ago was your limit, right? So we don't know our limits until we're beyond them. And then we can look back, but then it goes back to this thought of, well, because I had this limit back then, that's my limit now. No. If you're an endurance runner, yeah, your limit for running was 3 miles, but now it's 6, but now it's 12, now it's 26, now it's 50, now it's 100, right? And then day to day that can change, right? Maybe it used to be 100 and now you can only do 50. And so I can't is bad in general. UFOs in your room?
It just, the sky just unleashed. I was like, what is that sound? And it's just a downpour.
Raining? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
torrential downpour,
That's nice.
which is nice. It's been hot.
So that's my rant.
I like it. Well, we're doing our short format, so I feel like we're right about time.
We are doing our short format.
Tell us how you like the short format, by the way. Reach out. Tell us
Please
if you
do.
want the 2 hours back, if you like this more of an hour. Yeah, give us your feedback. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, we want to hear from you. Right? Without you listeners, we're just talking into mics, doing nothing.
Which we'll still do.
Yes, we will absolutely still do it. So journal prompt on word choice, right? So grab your journals and write about your word choice. Do you use buts? Do you use ums? Do you commit to things? Do you find that you commit to things, but then you don't do them, right? And whether it be, oh yeah, I'll hang out with that friend in a week, and then you never get to hang out with that friend because something, quote, something always comes up, right? You're in charge of your schedule, right? Things don't always come up, right? It's what you're saying yes to. It's what you're allowing to, come into your life. So use your words to see, right? To be aware of what words you're using. If you can, right? So this is a little not like the normal journal prompt. So grab your phone. Like if you have an iPhone, there's a notes app. If you have an Android, I don't know what you have. I'm sure you have a notes app, I would assume. But like put a notes app in, right? Just like journal word choice in one of your notes and see if you can start to pick up on words that you're using. Right.
I use so a lot. And I noticed that when I was recording, I probably use it here, recording a online program.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I'm very conscious of. And yeah, it's funny to notice what your filler words are.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you handle silence? Right? Do you fill it with the so's? Do you fill it with the ums, the buts, that mine is right. I say right a lot. Now everyone's going to hear it on the podcast because I say it often. But yeah, write about your word choice and write about your accountability and how that makes you feel. Right? Because your accountability or lack of accountability could potentially be triggering. And right, you might commit to something and then you don't do it, and then there's no accountability there, and now you're going to start noticing it, and that's going to be triggering in the sense of, oh, I didn't do this, I'm a terrible person. No, stop that. Stop assigning meaning. You're not a terrible person.
Word choice.
yeah, right. You're whole. You're complete. You're perfect. Mm-hmm. I tell my students all the time, we don't practice yoga to become perfect. We practice yoga to realize we already are. Mm-hmm. So you're perfect, you're whole, you're complete. But I'm using but. And now, how do you continue forward with accountability? How do you continue forward with taking the action that you want towards creating the life that you want? Mm-hmm. So write it all down. Use your phone. And the reason I'm saying grab your phone and this unconventional method, if you're not used to using your phone, is so that you always have it on you. Mm-hmm. Most of the times we have our phones, and I want you to think of me, of course, because I'm in the real estate business. I'm in the mental real estate business. And I want you to think of me when you have those word choices, and I want you to say, Alan, grab your phone, go to your notepad, and then write it down in that moment. Because it's likely you're going to forget it. Because back to the number one lie we tell ourselves is, I'm going to remember that. Mm-hmm. And with that, deuces. It was so good seeing you, Bree.
Good to see you.
All right. Chat soon.
Till next time.
Yep.
If you want to follow us and our adventures, you can find both of us on Instagram. I'm at Bree Allison. That's BreAllison.
And I am at The Life of Alan Tatone, _ between each word. To check out our offerings, yoga, one-on-one trainings, workshops, retreats, and a recorded library, you can find the info on our website, thehunterandthehippie.com.
If you have questions for the podcast, about the podcast, feedback, suggestions, or just want to say hi or find ways to work with us, our email is thehunterandthehippie@gmail.com. And don't worry, all of this will be in our show notes.
Thanks for tuning in
Hopefully you weren't tuned out.
to the Hunter and the Hippie podcast.